Meta released a threat report Thursday detailing some of the trends used by Russia and other U.S. adversaries to spread online misinformation and disinformation on social media. One of the key threats detailed in the report is the use of generative artificial intelligence, or Gen AI, to create images, videos, or other content and pass them off as real. The report mentions a Russian campaign that pushed news stories using AI tools to make them appear unique and mimic real news organizations. That's a problem. The AI stories were critical of President Biden for providing aid to Ukraine. Last week, former President Donald Trump used the real threat of AI to push a false narrative about his opponent, Vice President Kamala Harris. He wrongly claimed this image that you see right there of the crowd at one of her rallies was created using AI. Our CBS News Confirmed team verified the image did not use AI, and the crowd at the rally was, in fact, real. Well, Darren Linvill joins me now. He is the co-director of the Media Forensics Hub at Clemson University. Thank you so much for joining us. So how influential can AI-generated political misinformation, disinformation be to voters, and how it shapes their opinions and ultimately how they might actually vote?
Well, I think that, in this day and age, we're still learning the answer to that question. I think right now we're in the early days of understanding the effects of AI, and really bad actors are mostly using artificial intelligence to make their operations more efficient, to ramp up their operations, and much like the rest of us use AI for, to do a job faster and quicker.
So even though we're still trying to understand what this looks like at this particular time in our culture, what about what we saw in Trump's case with the crowd image? He claimed his political opponent used AI to fabricate enthusiasm about her campaign, but she didn't. It was real. So how could that false claim have an impact on people who see it as such, as real?
Yeah, I've been studying disinformation for a long time now, Jerika, and I get this question out a lot, which is, what is the real effect of disinformation? And I think that in this case, we really see what is usually my answer to the question in effect, which is disinformation causes us to doubt reality. And it can cause us to even doubt something that's so obviously true. We've seen bad actors around the world use this to great effect in the past. Putin uses what researchers call the fire hose of falsehood, which is he just tells so many lies that we don't know what the truth is anymore. And so we have a tendency to doubt anything we might see. Certainly the Russian people do. And I think that we see that here with Trump's audience.
I want to talk about some of those AI-generated images or audio like we saw earlier this year with a fake Biden phone call or any other content that we see online. Do you have any tips for people as to how they can determine if something is real versus an AI-generated image or content that is fake?
Yeah, I think that one of the most common effects that we currently have regarding AI is that it has a tendency to reinforce beliefs. If you aren't someone who wants to believe that an AI-generated image is true, you're gonna have a little bit more doubt. You're gonna look at that image a little more skeptically. Maybe you're more likely to go and check other sources to see if it's real. But if you're someone who wants to believe that what you're hearing is true, you're liable to believe it. And that is a really difficult hurdle to overcome. So I tend to tell people that we need, in the digital world, we need to engage in it in the same way we do the real world.
Right. You have to be a conscious consumer, essentially, right?
Right. With just a little bit of doubt. People have a tendency to go online and turn their brain off. And and turn all the usual doubts that we have in the real world when we see something that might be fraud or something that might be false. We don't have that same skepticism in the digital world.
Well, they could just rely on CBS News, okay? So you could just watch us.
Absolutely.
We do our best to make sure that what we're bringing you is the real deal. I actually had an incident with a fake AI-generated thing that said that I was selling a waist trainer. There it is, by Sculpt Torch, I think, or Touch, Sculpt Touch. I do not support that. So I had friends asking me, did you really sell this? Absolutely not. So
I think this points to what's almost a bigger problem than AI, and that's the shallow fake.
yeah,
That's not an AI generated picture of you. That's the real you, just
exactly.
used in a different context. And that's just
Very
as big of a
scary.
problem as any AI image.
All right, Darren Linvill, thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Thanks so much.